everyone, and welcome to the App Matters podcast presented by The Outer Loop, where we explore and create art that matters. I'm Melissa Wilson. I'm the marketing director and inner Enso facilitator for The Outer Loop. And here on App Matters, we like to create a space to explore the question, what are we here to do through the lens of art for social change? So here with me today, I have a special guest. Who are you?
Hello, my name is Sarai Ford.
Yeah, amazing. This is Sarai Ford. We'll get to know her a little better
Hey y'all.
in a second. Yes, I'm so excited to have her on. And as always, in the background, in their little producing seats, we have Michael and Rachel.
Hello,
Hi, everyone.
we are here.
We're here.
Amazing. Good. All right, so we're gonna get into Sarai's story and who she is in a second, but first, per usual, we've got to start with 5 things. A little improv game, get us loosened up, get us ready to spend the next 30 minutes together. So, my prompt for Sarai is, Sarai, what are 5 things that you love about yoga?
Ooh, okay. 5 things that I love about yoga. The stretching, like, it really does help. Like, in everyday life, just 5 minutes of stretching every day, really helps you, just go about the world better, walk easier and just, hold yourself up better. It's so great. Also the spiritual aspect of yoga, because yoga is a tradition that comes from India, and it is a full kind of religion or philosophy sort of. So it connects you to the powers that be, the powers above, whatever you believe in. It has a very strong connection to the supernatural.
Yeah.
What else? The time it takes to look inward. Yoga is all about changing, not necessarily changing, but being in touch with yourself and how you feel and who you want to be and how you want to present yourself. So spending that time on the mat helps you really have those deep conversations with yourself and get into it. Or what else? Kind of the community. People who do yoga are usually pretty chill and open and really ready to receive you however you are. Depending on where you go. The West has infiltrated the yoga space. So, those things do happen, but
Sure.
Traditionally it's very open and receptive to everyone. And the 5th, what's the 5th thing I really love about yoga? It's transformational, honestly. From before I started doing yoga to now, I'm a whole different person. I carry myself differently. I talk to people differently. I've learned how to set my priorities in a different way. All of that is very transformational.
That's so cool. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing. You're making me want to do some more yoga.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Do you have a category for me?
Yes. Okay. I have, what are 5 ways that you like to rest?
Ooh. Okay. I think my top way is hanging out one-on-one or maybe with 2 people that I'm really close with, that I really trust, that their presence can just give me energy, and I feel like that is the way that I rest the best. Rest the best. The second thing,
We love a good rhyme.
Yes. Outside, I worked outside on my computer, but I was outside all day today, and it's just so healing for me to be outside. I love to read, so that's a good way for me to rest. I love to go on walks, so that's a good way for me to rest. And also I love when I can just singing is part of work for me, but when I can sing, just be at the piano playing a pop song and singing along, that's really restful for me. So yeah.
I love
question.
that.
Yeah.
You don't have to sing for me now.
Oh,
Not here. I'll do it off
good.
camera, obviously.
On the podcast. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Amazing. Okay, cool. So yeah, Sarai's here. So we're gonna be talking a little bit about her life, about her purpose. But first off, we need to figure out who she is. So first off, like, who are you? Like, what do you do for work? Where do you live? Like, share us a little bit. Who are you in some broad strokes?
Okay. Who am I in some broad strokes? Okay. So I'm Sarai. Currently, the job that pays me is I am an assistant company manager at a regional theater in upstate New York. So that's where I'm located currently.
Amazing, amazing. And how did you and I meet? Like, how do we know each other?
Ooh, okay. So Melissa and I met during the Inner Enso project for the Outer
Mhm.
Loop.
Yes.
I found the Outer Loop. Do you want me to go into that? I
Oh
found the
yeah.
Outer Loop because I was Googling and I was like, what are the theater companies that prioritize social change? Because that's what I'm about. That's all I've ever been about. That's all I've ever wanted to do. So I was Googling and I was like, who does this? And then the Outer Loop popped up and I was like, oh, cool. So then I clicked on them and I read all about them. And if you haven't read about them, do it. So I read about their humanity project in Tanzania, and I read about some other projects that they do around the States, and I was like, this is super cool. So then I started following them on Instagram. Shout out to Melissa, who keeps it fresh and popping on the Instagram.
Thank you.
And I started following, and then they put out the call for Inner Enso, which is the all-female writing group. And I was like, I have to be a part of that. So I sent in my application, got a cute little call from Melissa. We hit it off, and now we're in the group, and now we're besties.
It's amazing.
It is.
Yes. Yes. It's been so good. Sarai has been such like a sweet, amazing addition to the group. And I think you also brought Pirita onto the team, right?
I
So
did
you're
bring
actually
Pirita.
responsible for 2 members, not just
Yeah.
yourself. Sarai is single-handedly responsible for 25% of the internet. So
Do what I can.
yeah. When you see how amazing the show is, she's 25% to thank. So yeah. Amazing. I would love to just hear like quickly what your experience has been like with the Inner Enso.
Ooh. It's been good, I think. I think that it's always just kind of hard to get a group of 8 people and try to get them to do the same thing. Like,
Yes, facts.
but like it's so fun to get to hear everyone's perspective and like put
Mhm.
something together that we all agree on. And now that it's like it's streamlining real quick now, like it's getting there. It's been so good. And all the personalities have been good. Like there's no one in the group that's like, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, if you can't see me, I made a face. But
Yeah.
there's no one in the group that like shouldn't be there, you know, like
Yeah.
it's good. And I think it's a very good like opportunity for folks who like want to create but don't necessarily have like the platform to create and like things like that. So I've been having a good time. I think it's great.
Yay. That makes me happy. And yeah, it has been such a sweet group. And I think by the time this episode comes out, we'll be reading our first draft of the play that's going to be produced in the spring. So that's exciting. Yeah, all Inner Enso things are so lovely. But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about you. So we, as you mentioned, like we focus so much on theater for social change and art for social change as a company, but we had a really sweet conversation with you maybe a month or 2 ago now about like theater for social justice, which I think is like it's a little different, you know, it's a little bit of a different piece that kind of feeds into the same lane. And so I'd love to hear about like first of all, where did that passion start for you about like using theater for social justice and just social justice in general?
Well, I'm Black in America, so social justice is always gonna be the first thing that
Real.
I'm gonna be into.
Yeah.
So, there's that. But when I was a kid, I always wanted to be in theater. Like I always wanted to act. Like I always wanted to create. And but I also always wanted to help people. Because I also like grew up in the church and like having a relationship with God like makes you want to make the world better. And when I was a kid, I wanted to act and I wanted to entertain, but I wanted to have a large platform. But I
Mhm.
only wanted that platform so that I could help other people. Like my main thing was like, oh, I'm gonna get famous and make all this money so that I could help. At the time, I really was into I really issues that I was focusing on were like kind of like domestic violence and
Mhm.
like suicide prevention. Like at the time, those were issues that were near and dear to me. And so that's kind of where it started. And then as I got older, I just like kept creating and then just like kept noticing like all of the things that are wrong like with the
Yeah, yeah.
world and like all the people who do need a voice and who
Mhm.
like aren't being heard. So I just kind of branched out to kind of everything and by the time I like graduated college, like me and Pierda, or before mentioned member, we created a show. Well, she wrote it. She wrote it. All the credits to her. But I helped her produce this show about trafficking, like human trafficking, and how like that issue has become like huge in the world. And I was living in California at the time, and it's actually really big in California. There are some routes that go through, and it's like a whole thing. So like we started doing that, and then there's like homelessness in LA that like we tried like to put on a show with or work with like homeless LGBTQ youth, like with the
Mhm.
LGBTQ center. And I worked with some kids in South Central LA with this program that was created after the riots in LA in 92. Um, just to like bring arts to people who don't usually get them. You know what I mean? So I'm kind like yeah, so I've just like continued to like make things and bring people in and like go into different categories. But yeah, I think I'll continue to do that. Right now it's all about Free Palestine, so
Mhm.
there are things to do about that also.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, that kind of leads into my next question. I was gonna ask, like, what does your like passion for theater for social justice, like, what is that looking like for you right now?
Um, right now, because I just moved to a new place, I haven't found like my perfect, like not perfect, but like I haven't found like my community here yet to figure out
Totally.
like what like they need and how to work it. But with all this like Free Palestine stuff going on, like I there are some plays that I want to do. Like there's this one, it's called My Name is Rachel Corey, and it's about a woman from Washington State, a white woman who goes to Israel, and it's a true story. It happened in like 2003. She went to Israel to like help with whatever she could, and she ended up being run over by an Israeli tank, and she lost her life there defending a Palestinian home. And so this show, it's her diary and letters and stuff that she was writing back home to her parents, and she's just talking about like everything that's going on and how it is affecting her and how like if we just like saw each other as humans, this probably wouldn't be the thing. Like and I think that that's a really important one to be hearing right now because
Mhm.
the people on who are strictly on either side have some really strong opinions about the other. And I think it's always important to come back to the fact that we are all human and like we do have common ground and that we all are worth like we all like deserve love and safety and home.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah,
That's kind of what's looking like for
definitely.
me right now.
Yes, amazing. Yeah, thank you for sharing about that. Thank you for sharing about that. And then I wanted to ask in general, I think the topics that I've heard you like talk super passionately about are creating space for people of color and for people in the LGBTQ plus community. I would love to just hear a little bit more about um, your passions for those things and what those have looked like for you.
Yeah, well, as a member of both communities, I have always had a strong passion for that. And like, as I think right now it's looking more like in the space that I am now, I think I am trying to bring more people of color into the mix at this specific organization that I'm working at, because there aren't a lot of us. But that looks like anytime I like try to create something, I always ask like my LGBTQ folks and my people of color and my women and like gender nonconforming, I always ask them first, like to help, like to be in it. Like any actors that I know that identify, like you're at the top of my list. Like any like designers, any directors, like we are gonna create this and it's gonna be for us by us. Like that is what I'm trying to do. And like, yeah, I'm just trying, like anything I do, like I want them to like they're welcome. And as my platform and my resources get like bigger and bigger and bigger, my reach becomes longer. And so I'm just like bringing people in like one by one as much as I can and trying to influence the people who have that power to do the same, which is what I'm doing right now at my job.
That's so good. Yeah. That's so good. And I would love it if you could just explain a little bit. Like, we're talking about, we're always talking about theater for social change. You're talking about theater for social justice. Like, where do you feel like is kind of the difference between those two things? How do they collaborate and where do they split off?
Yeah, honestly, I think that they're kind of the same, but you can't have change without justice. And I think that's the thing. Like, that's the thing, because people are always like, it has to change, but like you have to change yourself, like on the inside also, in order for like the systems to change, because they only exist because the people make them. So social justice is more like having those conversations, like doing those plays that are from the mouth of a Palestinian actor, or like, from an LGBTQ actor, from a trans actor, which is really under fire right now, like hearing those stories and resonating with them, like realizing that common humanity, and then being like, oh, this has to be different, like this has to change. So the social justice part is like actually telling those stories, and then the change is like making it happen afterwards. So like the proceeds from those tickets, where did they go? Like that's how that, like everything has to connect, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So then I think that you are like, I think you have such an interesting perspective to me, because you're like so passionate about social justice, but then you're also so passionate about like wellness and rest. Like we were talking about yoga and rest and everything at the beginning. Yeah, could you just share a little bit about like your personal journey with like wellness and rest, and then how you feel like that has played into like how you see working with these difficult issues?
My relationship to wellness and rest, that's so funny. Sorry, it's only funny to me because like in my life, the amount of times I've been called like lazy is so funny. But like I'm not. I just really like to sit down. Like
as you should.
like, but like rest is important, and I think that people forget that, like, because we live in a society that's all like go go go, and like within capitalism your worth is how much you can produce. And so like we're not, they don't want us to rest. Like when you rest you get called lazy, and like instead of just like taking time for yourself, because it's okay to sit down for 5 minutes, like it's crazy. Yeah. And what I always go back to, like as a Christian, is like God created the world in 7 days, but what did he do on the seventh day? He rested, right? Yep. So that's part of the cycle. You work for 6 days, you rest for 1, and then you go again. Like, like it's part of it. It's part of life. It's part of the natural rhythm. Yeah. And so in working, people never want to rest, and it's always hard for people to rest. And like for those people, I always say like put it on your checklist, like to just like sit down for 10 minutes, and then you can check that off and you were productive, but you sat down for 10 minutes. Like, you know what I mean? Like it has to be like in the schedule. But especially when we're doing like social justice work and social change, like to just be on all the time, it's too much. Like, because we're always fighting, like it's a fight. And so to like constantly have those cortisol levels up, like to constantly be in fight or flight, like it's detrimental to your health. Like there are activists who have literally lost their lives because they're going and they're going and their body just gives out. Like, so rest is important. And so within this work, and I've been in a few environments where like, especially when like creating, when like the people in charge don't necessarily have like the talent's best interest in mind. So they're like, yeah, we're gonna do this for 12 hours and we're not gonna like, there's not gonna be any dinner. Like we're gonna have a 5 at the beginning and like a 10 at the end, and that's cool, right? Like, you know, like those kinds of things. Like they expect you to like work yourself into the ground. And so in doing this work, I was like, that's not how I'm gonna run it. Like we're gonna create, and we're gonna start off with we're just gonna sit here and breathe together for 10 minutes, and then we're gonna go into what we're gonna do, and we're gonna have breaks, we're gonna have water, we're gonna have like snacks, like, you know, like the whole thing. And I think people forget that that's actually, that rest is an important part of productivity, because you produce less when you don't rest. So they go together.
Yeah. Yes, that was so good. Like I needed that. So wow, so good. Okay, and then I feel like you've kind of like touched around this a lot, but I would love to just ask more directly. Like, we like to talk about purpose on this podcast. Like, what would you say is your purpose as an artist?
Yeah. My purpose as an artist is my purpose as an artist is to educate, inform, and help as many people as I can. Like, yeah, that is my purpose. Like with my art, I choose to help. With my art, I choose to love. Yeah. With my art, I choose to like create balance. Like that's my purpose. You know?
Yeah.
Is just to kind of be light. To be a light and a love as much as I can.
Yeah. That's so sweet. And I'm so honored. Like, I've been so I think gifted to get to watch you be that in our inner Enso group, and I'm just so grateful for the light and love that you bring every week to our meetings. So thank you for your purpose, because it is like you're doing exactly what you're trying to do. Yeah.
Thank you for receiving me. You are also lots of light and love, so thank you.
Thanks. Amazing. Okay, so along the themes of all of these wellness and rest things that we've been talking about, Sarai is actually going to give us a little meditation to wind down at the end of the episode, which I'm super excited about. I know a lot of people listen to podcasts while they're driving or in the grocery store or whatever. So if you can't stop and close your eyes and like be fully focused on this, that's okay. Either just like let it wash over you as much as it can now while you're driving to work, or just pause it. And when you get to work, sit in your car for an extra 5 minutes and just like do this little meditation. I know for a fact it's gonna improve your day. And I'm so excited to receive it and just like take some intentional rest for a couple of minutes. But yeah, before we get to the meditation, I just want to say, as always, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be here every Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us along on social media at The Outer Loop to check out all the other work we're doing, including lots of fun inner Enso things happening soon. Like I mentioned before, our show is coming up in New York City in the spring. So if you're in that area, definitely keep an eye out for that. But yeah, lots of fun things. And then Sarai, I would love it if you had like a little call to action for our audience.
Yes. Right now, the call to action is to vote. It's to pay attention and to vote. And make sure you're voting in all of your local elections also, because it really does work from the bottom up, not the top to the bottom. So, vote. and pay
Yes,
attention.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We love that call to action. All right, so she's going to share her meditation, but we will see you next week.
Okay. Okay, everyone. If you are driving, that's fine. Just kind of settle in and take a deep breath. If you're sitting, try to sit up straight in your chair, put your feet on the ground. If you're laying, you can do that too. That's fine. If you're walking, that's good too. So we'll just take one deep breath together. Inhale and exhale. And I just want you to focus. You don't have to close your eyes, but if you want to close your eyes, you can. Or you can just bring your eyes to a soft focus. I just want you to bring your attention to your root chakra. Your root chakra is located at the bottom of your tailbone. You can just imagine just a little ball at the bottom. Or if you're standing or walking, imagine it's in the bottom of your feet to connect to your root. And just take a deep breath and say this mantra in your head. I have a right to be here. And exhale it out. Inhale. I have a right to be here. And exhale. And now bring your attention to your sacral chakra. It's right underneath your belly button, right below your belly button, that sacral chakra. And take a deep breath and say, I have a right to feel. And exhale. Inhale. I have a right to feel. Exhale. And bring your attention to your solar plexus. It's right above your belly button. And take a deep breath and say, I have a right to act. And exhale. And inhale. I have a right to act. And exhale. And bring your focus up to your heart. And inhale and say, I have a right to love and be loved. And exhale. Inhale. I have a right to love and be loved. Exhale. And bring your attention to your throat chakra. And inhale and say, I have a right to speak and be heard. And exhale. And inhale. I have a right to speak and be heard. Exhale. And bring your attention to your third eye. It's located right in between your eyebrows. And inhale and say, I have a right to see. And exhale. And inhale. I have a right to see. And exhale. And then bring your attention to the crown. Your crown, it's at the top of your head. And just inhale. I have a right to know. And exhale. And inhale. I have a right to know. And exhale. And let it all go. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And have a great day.